Okay, we're going to just record to the cloud. You probably got a note saying, is it okay to record? Say okay. If you're not comfortable, please sign off and you'll be able to see it on YouTube. But it looks like everybody's comfortable. So with that, it is my great pleasure. I'm going to go from my view to gallery to speaker view. The reason I'm in speaker view is that whenever anyone talks, so for example, you probably only see Mitch Ryan because he must be saying something. So I'm going to mute Mitch for a moment. I'm going to ask anyone who's not muted to mute themselves. So I have everyone muted at the moment, I believe. What I don't understand is why am I full screen with Mitch if I have everybody muted? This makes no sense. Okay, well, we'll let it go as it is. So with that, let me make sure, Mitch, unfortunately, I can't hear you. I'm going to unmute you, ask to unmute. Let's see if Mitch can get unmuted.
I did.
Thank you. So Donald, it is my great pleasure, by a freak of nature, by being in the farmer's market at the Marconda's meat counter, I ran into twice Patty Freed 4 years apart. When I met her the second time, she said, "You come to my house on Saturday." I didn't know what I was getting into, but it changed my life. And the man who did it is with us today, and he is our host, and that is the esteemed Donald Freed. And Donald, it's all yours. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, you're muted. Let me see if we can get you unmuted. It is my great pleasure to introduce Donald Freed.
Unmuted.
You got it. I'm going to make a technology guy out of you. Take it away, Donald.
All right. Now I'm seeing you, and I'm seeing a little notice saying this meeting is being recorded.
Yes. So say okay.
I'll just say got it.
Got it. And you should be fine. And you're only going to see who speaks.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I'm seeing you now.
That's correct.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm more or less seeing all of you, and I'm glad you're here. And I think we all owe a real debt to Dr. Carnow. Gary took the ball. He saw what this book was. He knew its origin. He can preview in a way its future. And he began a series of meetings starting with today, and they will grow until there's a sufficiently large movement to break through various barriers. So thanks to Gary, his solidarity, his debt of honor to the International Writer Seminar, and to writers of all time, all ages, all places. It makes for a wonderful day. He himself, about this time next year, will have a play and a book ready when theaters reopen and bookstores flourish. Until then, we will all be working to promote Mitchell's book. I'll say this about the reason we're here. Albert Camus said that a new theater changes history. And it's true that new writers change history too. They change it in a way at the level of ideas and at the level of feelings, at the deepest levels of all. They're not on billboards necessarily, but they are inside the readers. Truthful writing spreads, it grows, it encompasses, and it matches and attempts to do combat with the viruses of lies and of false narratives, of big lies, as opposed to just ordinary lies and damn lies and statistics. Big lies. It's the only antidote to the big lies. It is, as Camus said, that there was truth and there was untruth. But if you clung to the truth, even against the whole world, you were not mad. And this work of Mitch Ryan's Fall of a Sparrow, it has a resonation starting with the character. It goes back to the New Testament, and it goes on to Shakespeare, and then on to the stream of our language. And the detail implied in that, and focus implied in that title, is in this book. It carries four generations, actually. It starts in Ireland, and it comes to the period before the Civil War, and then through the Civil War, with some matchless scenes. If you've done Civil War reading and been interested in it, you'll see here dramatized versions, which you can never forget. But leaving behind in Ireland, there's always the unforgettable sketches and portraits of the older generation who stay in touch with their offspring in the New World through letters that in themselves are epistolary magic, the way Mitch writes them. And the Civil War passes, and on into the later 19th century, and then into the 20th century, and then finally into the life and times of Mitchell Ryan himself, not to be confused with the author of the book. I only say that it is one and the same, but it is subject to the kind of riveting anatomy of success and failure of dreams, hopes and prayers, and losses. But the losses are, as Faulkner says, they grieve on universal bones. They're important. They're idiosyncratic. Everybody lives in their own shell, you might say. But the common denominators of love, work, suffering, loss of love, all the big headlines in their invisible and, you might say, chemical and phylogenetic manifestations in the dreams, in the feelings of the characters, right through to the end. And along the way, the trail winds through from Ireland to the south, to the north, to New York, to Hollywood, to the sound stages, but most of all to the stages. And I would say that Mitchell Ryan is the linear descendant of the great American Shakespearean actors. And he worked with the last of them, Ian Keith, and he carried away that which was movable from Mr. Keith. And he left portraits of Iago, of Gloucester, of Lear, of leading roles in many, many of the Shakespearean plays. And in his reading of Falstaff, and the bellowing answer to the rhetorical question from the battlefield that Falstaff puts to himself, can honor set to a leg? And the answer is no. But when Mitch bellows it, no, it is heard down the ages and it slips right past the Elizabethan court. It is the only word you'd ever need for war and for injustice, that no, as Mitch reads it. So this is a celebration. I've worked with Mitch a long time and really met him through Salome Jens, his great partner, as they brought O'Neill to life. The revivals of O'Neill, of Salome and Mitch, beginning in New York and elsewhere, really with The Moon for the Misbegotten. That made it history. It was at the time there of Geraldine Page and the revival of Tennessee Williams. followed by Mitch and Salome and the revival of O'Neill, the later plays, Strindberg, all the stage work, which of course is upstaged by film and television because the audiences are much larger at any given time. But there's nothing like the theater. And the transitory nature of the stage doesn't make the images less memorable or less introjected. And if you've heard Mitch at full power on the stage and seen him, you'll never forget those performances. Well, it's all taken together in this big book, and it's a really big book, and I mean that in the sense of the golden age of American writing. It ends with a reference to Scott Fitzgerald, and that reference is earned, you might say. That's in the final word that Mitch has to it. It's earned. He's a part of that tradition. He has been a great reader, and he is now a great writer. And I'm going to join you in enjoying a reading from the book. So now, Gary, Mitch is coming on.
Yes.
I'm going to.
Here I am.
Yes, Mitchell. So Donald, I've muted you so you get to laugh as much as you'd like. And Mitchell, I'm going to mute myself. Please take it away.
Where's my picture? And everybody seeing me? Listen, thank you, Donald. That was a wonderful thing to say about me. I appreciate it very much. The whole problem of this book, which is the reason for it, is not only the great generational disintegration from one to the next generation and all the glories together with it, but the study of the difference between what a man is and what an actor is. And it's a big problem because it somehow does not jive. There are many, many reasons for this. And I'm just going to read a little snippet of something here, because the whole book is such an encompassing situation. I couldn't hope to find anything real typical, but this is after he searched all over Hawaii, Honolulu, looking for the reason his son is dying. And at the end, he finds himself in a bar. He's quit drinking, but he's in a bar, and he has found out from the waitress that his boy was there, and that right soon after that he was killed. He remembered when he was a lonely drunk, wandering from bar to bar, looking for some spark of life beyond the moment-to-moment horror of his wretched life, and finding for a brief time a stranger who could be taken for a comrade. A well-dressed man, say, drunk at the bar, who would allow you to tell the tragic story of your failure in school. A doctor, you say you wanted to be, and the sad death of your mother. There is always these funeral caves, men like yourself to listen to your lies and tell your own the glorious fantasies of a made-up life, anything to relieve the horror of the moment. And always a girl, oh yes, a lovely, sweet girl who will hold you and sympathize with you and listen to you. Most importantly, she must listen. She must realize that you are worth something, and someday people will see you for what you are. Then you can resist the daredevil stunts of showing off, climbing to the top of the bridge and walking across the railing with the boy and the bay far below, or getting the shit kicked out of you for telling a loudmouth Marine twice your size to shut up just to show off. Then you will duck into the toilet, and in the mirror, a flush of blood in your mouth, and the wretchedness of your stupid life will draw from you a vow to the end of all this tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. You leave the bar and leap on your symbol of manhood, your motorbike, and at reckless speed defy all the laws of sane driving. Mitch's thoughts evaporated, and he could do nothing but stand by the ocean, see nothing at all. The heavy cloud of mixed pity and loss worked as a veil, and all that was before him was gone. He was blind. It was sickening to begin to realize how alike they were, these two men, the father and the son, who never knew each other. Then, like a fade up in a film, the moon slowly became a long streak of silver across the water. His eyes followed the moonbeam from the edge all the way to the moon. He hesitated a moment, then stepped forward. The water was soft and hardly moving. He went in further and stood up to his knees. The sky was immense, and the water under him was laced with silver. He raised his arms and floated right up to the moon. Yes, there's a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. That's the end of almost the end. There's another afterward, but aside from all the wonderful stuff that I remembered about Lee Marvin and Jack Palance and James Earl Jones and Irene Pappas and Michael Kakianis and all the people that I worked with and helped me through my life, it's mainly about these men, my grandfather, my father, me, and my son, and what we gave to each other and how we destroyed each other.
I don't know if I'm unmuted.
You're fine.
The ordeal of the generations, Mitch. That was a perfect selection. Really perfect. Yeah, and beautifully read, and just speaking of writing, I mean, the lighting and the nature could not be more wonderfully realized in that moonlit apotheosis of his life, because he's traced his son to the last moment, stopping just short of going underwater, and then all the generations would have disappeared. But it was a great choice, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah. And well, no, I think you want Gary, don't you, for people to join in now?
Absolutely. And what we can do, because we have, I'm going to go ahead and go to gallery view, and I suggest everyone else do the same thing. Um, uh, we're getting a request for Hamlet Act 5, Scene 2. My guess is Donald probably knows that by heart, as well as Mitch.
That would be the grave diggers, I think.
So because I think we'll start this way. I certainly owe a debt of honor to Patricia Freed. It's Patricia Freed who created the seminar along with Donald many, many years ago. And we have a member with us, Lance Fogan. He can wave his hand if he would like to. Lance was an original member of the group. I just want to point out the people that are currently or formerly in the group, and then we'll open it up to questions. All you have to do is at the very bottom of your screen, there's reactions. You can raise your hand and I will certainly call on you. And then you can ask Mitch or Donald any question that you'd like. If you'd like to ask me a question, call me later. Just looking at the top, I want to give a nod of, I'm just going in the order that I see. Obviously, Mitchell Ryan has been there since the day I started, but has been working with Donald for many, many years. I'm a newbie, I'm only 4 years. Joanna Ratkins, if you want to wave your hand, Joanna. And in fact, you can tell us how long you've been with the writing seminar if you'd like. You can unmute yourself. I think we can do that as we talk. And while she's doing that, I'm going to point out Karen Lacey. I see Karen next. Karen is a really valuable member of our group.
Hey, Karen.
And Annette Ballister is here. And how could I not forget? And Dorothy, I'm going to let you unmute yourself. Dorothy Sinclair, who is absolutely one of the most incredible people I've ever met. Can we say how old you are, Dorothy?
I don't know. Oh,
41.
On January 4th last year, on January 4th, I was 95, and that's it's questionable whether that's an age you want to achieve or not.
Well, I know that Dorothy worked with Donald, and she has 2 wonderful books that, oh my gosh, they're just great. And anyone who knows me, I'll certainly give you the links to those. They're available on Amazon. Marcia was a member of the class for many, many years. Alex and Stefan are members of the class right now. Alex, Stefan, do you want to just say where you're calling from?
Here we go. Yes, we are calling here from Cornwall, and I have to point out that that is Cornwall, United Kingdom, and not Cornwall on Hudson in New York State.
So the bad thing about COVID was death and dying. The good thing is we immediately pivoted to Zoom, and we've been meeting. We normally meet at 1 o'clock every Saturday afternoon, rain or shine, holiday or not.